Brian made it back to Little Sicily's in 18 minutes flat. He didn't remember half the turns he took getting there. The city blurred past him in streaks of red brake lights and storefront reflections. Why the elaborate scheme? The second time in as many days he'd been maneuvered into Julia's presence. Why not just talk to me directly? Why involve her at all? And what is it about Julia? He didn't even know her. The questions stacked on top of one another, urgent and unresolved. By the time he pulled up in front of the shop, he had already rehearsed half a dozen versions of the confrontation. Respectful, but firm. He wasn't a kid anymore. If Vinny had something to say, he could say it. Brian stepped out of the car and froze. Vinny was sitting outside the pizzeria. Not inside behind the counter, not wiping down the ovens, not counting the till. Outside. He sat in a metal chair just to the right of the entrance, smoking a pipe Brian had only seen a handful of times over the years. His tomato sauce-stained apron still covered his Little Sicily t-shirt. The glow of the street lamp cast a soft halo around him. Beside him, placed deliberately close, was a second empty chair. Vinny looked up as Brian approached. "Take a seat, Brian," he said. There was no irritation in his voice, no defensiveness, just invitation. Brian exhaled slowly and complied, dragging the second chair closer before sitting down. The night air was cool, the street quieter than usual. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then Vinny removed the pipe from his mouth and asked, almost casually, "Have I ever told you about Francesca Altamonte?" Brian frowned slightly. "No." Vinny nodded, as if that confirmed something. "I grew up in Altamonte, Sicily," he began. "Small town, or at least it was then, about 25 miles west of Palermo." His accent thickened slightly when he said the names, as though memory pulled him backward. "When I was a teenager," he continued, "I fell in love with Francesca." He stared out at the empty street. She was beautiful. Not just in the way people say that. She had this light about her. And she knew I loved her. Deep down, I know she loved me too. Brian listened without interruption. "I was a poor boy," Vinny said. "No father, just like you. My mother cleaned houses. We had enough to eat, but not much more." He tapped the side of the pipe against the chair's armrest. "Francesca came from a wealthy family. They owned several restaurants and the largest hotel in the village. Her father was important." Vinny's jaw tightened slightly. "One afternoon he saw the two of us talking after school. Nothing improper, just talking. He pulled me aside." Vinny's voice dropped to register. "He told me, formally, that I was to stop speaking with his daughter. Immediately." Brian felt his chest tighten. "He said there was nothing in this world I could offer her that she didn't already have," Vinny continued. "He told me it would be better for me to learn this sooner rather than later." He paused. His words broke me in a way that, even until this day, I have not fully recovered from. The streetlight flickered once, then steadied. "The following year," Vinny said quietly, "he arranged a marriage between Francesca and the oldest son of the largest cattle farmer in Palermo. Dairy products, cheese predominantly." A faint, humorless smile crossed his face. "Within 1 week of learning of the engagement, I packed a bag and purchased a one-way ticket to the United States with the only money I had in the world." Brian turned toward him fully now. "I ran away," Vinny said, "from the only country I had ever lived in, from the only woman I had ever loved." He took a slow breath. "Because I allowed other people to dictate to me what and who I was good enough for." Silence settled between them again, heavier this time. "Not a day has gone by in all the years since," Vinny continued, "that I haven't thought of Francesca. I am left with the thoughts of what could have been." He looked at Brian now, directly. "If that isn't the definition of lifelong regret, I don't know what is." He paused again, longer this time. The city hummed faintly in the distance. Then Vinny leaned forward slightly. "I sent you to Julia's tonight because I could see you were distraught," he said. Brian's brow furrowed. "In the only way that a man can truly feel out of place in this world." "And what's that?" Brian asked. Vinny didn't hesitate. "In the way by which a man loves a woman," he said softly, "and fears, and ultimately concedes, that she will never love him back." The words landed gently but decisively. Brian opened his mouth to object. "I don't," he began, then stopped, because whatever he had been about to say felt dishonest. All the questions he'd rushed back with, the accusations, the frustration, suddenly felt smaller. Not irrelevant exactly, but reframed. Why the elaborate scheme? Because Vinny didn't want him running. Why not talk to me directly? Because some things a man has to see for himself. What is it about Julia? Brian swallowed. He thought of the first time he'd seen her photo by the elevator, the nerves he couldn't explain, the fear of not being enough, the way her words had stung, not just because they were dismissive, but because they confirmed something he already suspected about himself. Perhaps Vinny had already answered every question without him having to ask. Brian stood up slowly. For a moment, Vinny thought he might argue, push back, dismiss the whole thing. Instead, Brian stepped forward and wrapped his arms around him. It wasn't the quick, grateful hug of an 18-year-old receiving a surprise gift. It was tighter, grounded, acknowledging something shared. Vinny patted his back once, twice. When they pulled apart, neither man felt the need to add anything else. Brian picked up both chairs and carried them back inside the restaurant. Vinny followed, stubbing out his pipe near the doorway. They locked up together in silence. At the door, Vinny clapped Brian lightly on the shoulder. "Good night, kiddo." "Good night, Vinny." They walked in opposite directions down the sidewalk. Brian didn't feel resolved, but he no longer felt confused. And for the first time since he'd seen Julia's name printed on that delivery slip days ago, he wasn't thinking about what he wasn't good enough for. He was thinking about what he might regret if he never found out.